so we are starting 4.2. We just finished 3.2. We're going to 4.2. Okay, so we have mastered slope. The past 2 days you found the slope of curved lines by averaging the average rate of change. You found the slope given a graph, given table, given points. Okay, now it is start to get into our full linear equations. And you just saw two of them. Number 1 and number 3 were both linear equations. And these are both in a very special form that you've definitely learned before. That's slope-intercept form. But you probably remember it as y equals mx plus b. Okay? This is the most standard way we write the equation of a straight line. Y equals mx plus b. X is our input, y is our output. And we have two very special parts, one of which you've already mastered, m. You have mastered your m, that is your slope. So just like we were doing yesterday, you're still going to need to find your slope. I can get this music to pause. M is your slope. It represents how steep the line is. Okay, so you still need slope to write your equation of a line, but you also need b. And b represents the y-intercept. Who can tell me what the y-intercept is? What does that mean? We can break it down. Ready? So, are we talking about our x-axis or our y-axis? Our y-axis. That's right here on our graph. This is our y-axis. Okay? Y. If you think sports, what does intercept mean? To intercept something.
I mean when you cross it like.
Yeah.
Cross.
Yeah, it means in football it means the other team caught it, but like that line is intercepted, it's crossed. So it's where does our graph cross the y-axis? So if you look here, our graph of our straight line is intercepting the y-axis right here, which is why it's called the y-intercept, where it intersects with y. Okay? So those two things are the only two things you need in order to write the equation of a line. You need the slope, which we know how to find now, and you need the b value, which is the y-intercept. So when I'm saying slope, I'm talking about m. When I'm talking about the y-intercept, I'm talking about the b value. Once you have a number for m and a number for b, you can plug them right into your y equals mx plus b, and then you have the equation of the line. Okay, so that's the goal today. The first 3 days of this week first 2 days was all about finding slope. Now we're just adding one step onto that. Now we need the slope and the y-intercept, and now we can write the equation of the line. That's the goal today. You should walk out of this room being able to write the equation of a line in y equals mx plus b. And of course, we're still going to use the cheat code. We're still going to look at how we can do it by hand, so you know how to do both. But when you walk out of here today, the goal is, if I give you points or a table or a graph, you can write the equation of the line. That's the goal. So let's first start with, how do we graph a linear function by hand? How do we graph it with Desmos? You should know how to do both. Okay, the OST loves the question, and if you took that practice OST, it's not easy when they give you the little graph and they're like, plot the line and draw the, plot the points and draw the line. But it's a really common question. So if we look at our first equation that we're going to do by hand, no Desmos, we have the equation y equals negative 2x minus 3. This is right in your notes packet. Okay, y equals negative 2x minus 3. The first thing we need is our m, our slope, and our b value, our y-intercept. If we have those two things, then we'll be able to graph our line. So what is the m, the slope? Where's the m value in this? Remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So where's the m? Here's m, which means the m is -2, right? It's in the same spot, right in front of the x is our m, every time. Whatever number is connected to our x is our slope. So that means our slope is -2. Our b value is always the constant, the regular old number that's at the end, the caboose, the end of the train. In this case, we got to be careful. It's not just 3, it's -3. Okay, so let's write down our b value is -3. These are the only two numbers we need, and we can graph our line. Okay, so after we've labeled our m and our b, all we need is to, number 2, plot the y-intercept. Remember, y-intercept is which axis? X or y? Well, it's called the y-intercept because that means -3 is on the y-axis. So label them. This is x, this is y. -3 is the b value. It's the y-intercept. So we need to plot -3 on the y-intercept. So you go down to -3 and put a point. And if you didn't know, in order to graph a line, we need 2 points. With 1 point, we don't know how steep the line is. We could draw a line through that point any way we'd want, but when you have 2 points, there's only one line that goes through 2 points. So to find your second point, we use our slope and our rise over run. Right now we have -2, but I don't have a number in the bottom of the fraction. By default, what number is under this -2? A 1. So it's super helpful if you write your slope as a fraction. Because now we know that our rise is -2 and our run is 1. So starting at the y-intercept, let's do our rise. -2 means which way do I go? Huh? It does left, but remember this is rise over run. -2 is talking about the rise, up and down. So I'm going to go down 2. So I'm going to count 1, 2. Now I'm here. Now I look at the bottom number. My run is 1. So I'm going to go which way? 1 square. Positive right. 1 means to the right. So I'm going to go over 1. Down 2. Over 1. That's my slope. That's my second point. How's that? Good? We have 2 points, which means now I can draw a line that goes through the 2 points. Now, I'm lucky. I get to cheat. I get to use this to make my straight line. But here's my line that goes through those 2 points. It's the only line you can draw through those 2 points. And we're done. We labeled M and B. We plotted the y-intercept. And we used our slope to find the next point using rise over run. And we're done. So if you're someone that likes to be old school, this is how I did it. This is how people have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. Literally for that long, if not thousands. Okay, but you're lucky enough where you have technology. So let's look at how would I do this using Desmos. Okay, so first things first, let's label our M and B. What is the slope of the second one? 2 over 3. Whatever is right in front of x is your slope. 2 over 3. And your b value is 1. The constant, the regular number at the end, 1. Now again, if you wanted to do this by hand, you most certainly can. But I'm going to show you with Desmos. So I'm going to pull it up. Here's Desmos. So I'm going to plug in exactly what is on my paper. Y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Y equals 2/3 x plus 1. Exactly what was on my paper. Now to graph a line, how many points do you need? 2. All you need to do is find 2 pretty points. What I mean by pretty points are points that are whole numbers. Like this one, look. 0, 1. That's a pretty number. There's no decimals, nothing nasty. When I click on this point, negative 1.50, that's not a pretty point. We don't want decimals. So watch what you can do. If I click and hold down on my line, look at what I can do. I can slide and find any point I want on this line. So I'm going to go find a nice pretty point. There's my nice pretty point. I'm shaky, but you get it. 3, 3. So I got 0, 1, and I got a pretty point. 3, 3. So I plot those on my point. 0, 1, 3, 3. 0, up 1, over 3, up 3, 3, 3. All you need is 2 points. There's tons of pretty points. That's not the only one I could have chose. And now I graph my line going through it. Here's the graph of the line. It has a slope of 2/3 and a y-intercept of 1. Its equation is 2/3 x plus 1. That's the Desmos way. Now, is the Desmos way faster? I don't know. But you can do either one you prefer. If you want to count your rise over run, do it. Do you want to put it into Desmos and find 2 pretty points? Awesome. Both ways work fine. That's how we graph linear lines. Some of this is probably familiar. You've probably graphed straight lines before at some point. It might be a while. Okay. Now we're going to do the opposite. So you're given the equation and you graphed it. Now what are you given? Now you're given the graph, and guess what I want you to do? Write the equation. This is probably the more popular question. You'll get a graph, and it'll say, which of the following is the equation for the line? We're going to do one by hand, and guess what? We're going to do one with Desmos. By hand. To graph, or to write the equation of the line, you need 2 things. M and B. If you have those 2, you can write the equation. We're going to always start by finding the B value. And the B value represents what? Remember, like intercepting the ball in football. Look down your page. B represents the y-intercept. I know this is the y-axis. So I'm looking for where does my line cross the y-axis? Where does it cross? At what number? -3. My B value is -3. That's not enough to write the line. I can't write the equation yet because what do I still need? I need the slope. So it's time to count the rise over run. So I'm going to look at my graph and I'm going to find a pretty point. Let me give you a bad example. Don't write this. This right there, that's a bad example of a pretty point. Do you know where that point is? You would have to guess or estimate. You want to put your pretty point somewhere where it crosses the grid lines, which I would say 1 is right there. Isn't that a pretty point? Mm-hmm. Look, it's right on the grid lines. Now to find my slope, it's like giving directions to your friend to get to your house, okay? To get from this house to this house, what would you have to do if you had to stay on the little roads? What would you have to do to get there? You'd go up 1 block and over 4 blocks. That's your rise over run, like we did yesterday. We would go up 1, that's our rise, and we would have to go to the right 4. That's the run. It's a bad U, but you get it. Rise, run. That means my slope, my M value, is rise over run. So what would my slope be? 1 over 4. We got B. We got M. Now we just need to put it into our slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So what would my final equation look like? Y equals 1 over 4x minus 3. Y equals 1 over 4x minus 3. If I wrote plus negative 3, is that okay? Technically it's okay. But they would use a minus 3 on the standardized test. This is the slope, or the equation for the line. Okay, so that's how you would do it if you want to be old school. Old school. Now let's look at how you do it the new school way. Come on, wake up. Notes. In order to find a line, how many points do you need? 2. To do it with Desmos, all we need are 2 points. That's it. So you're going to look at your graph, and I want you to put a little point on 2 pretty points. Any 2 pretty points. Put a dot on it. Point. I should say dot. It's not very mathy. Put a point. Come on 2 pretty points. I put it on 3. All 3 of these are pretty points. We only need 2. But there were 3 to pick from that I can see on my graph. We're just going to pick 2 of them. Okay? This is the point negative 2, 2. This is the point 0, negative 1. And this is the point 2, negative 4. Now, it doesn't matter which 2 you pick. You just need 2 for Desmos to work. So we're going to do this exactly like we did it for slope, only remember it gives us a bunch of information when we use the cheat code. We're going to just need our M and our B. So time to pull up your Desmos. Should probably move this to the other side, huh? See if it'll let me. There we go. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. I'm going to clear this old stuff out. To put it into Desmos, where do I put my points? What's my first thing I'm going to do?
What?
Well, I'm going to need the cheat code. You could do that first. But I need to put my points in something. What do I put it in? I can't just type them here, though. What do I need to add first? What did we do when we were finding slope? Where did we put our points? Inside a table. Always click plus and add a table. You can't just type your points in. You have to put them in a table. Now, it doesn't matter which 2 we choose. It does not matter which 2 we choose. We just have to choose 2 of our points. And I'm going to do negative 2, 2. And I'm going to put in 0, negative 1. Again, could have chose any. Any 2 pretty points. Now that I have it in my table, Now I can use my cheat code. It's right on the front of your packet. Gigantic. Y1 squiggly mx1 plus b. Y1 squiggly mx1 plus b. After you type it in, you get all this awesome information. We're just looking for two things. We need m, we need b. What's the m? Negative 1.5. What's our b? Our b is negative 1. So there's one issue here. Do we like when our slope is a decimal? So I can just pull up my keyboard, type in negative 1.5, and turn it into a fraction. So my slope, m, is negative 3/2. My b is negative 1. That's all I need. I can write my equation. Okay, so we know b, m, what was b, negative 1 or positive 1? Negative 1, negative 3/2. Now we just plug it in to y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 3/2 x minus 1. That's the equation of my line. That's how you do it with the help of Desmos. Again, I don't care which one you do. If you want to count your rise over run for your m and your b, great. If you want to use Desmos, pick two pretty points and have it tell you your m and your b, awesome. Both work. Either one. Remember, on the SAT, on the OST, both of them you get Desmos. Both of them you get to use either method and it would work. Okay. We have one more slide to do. So we graphed them. We wrote the equation of them, given the graph. Now, we need to write the equation given a table. We're going to do it once by hand. We're going to do it once with Desmos. Are you ready for this? This is the first time where you're going to see Desmos makes life a lot easier. Do you see how much room I left for the by hand versus the Desmos? By hand is a little more tedious this way, but it's still important for you to see how all these pieces come together. But at the end of the day, if you want to just do it the Desmos way, you can do it. So, here's our table. We know we have to have what two things to write the equation? We have to have m and we have to have b. We need m, we need b. Until we have both, we can't write the line. So first things first, step 1. We know how to find the slope with a table. So we can find m right away using the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Does it matter what 2 points I use? No, I can pick any two. Me personally, I'm going to pick the ones that aren't negative. I'm going to pick positive points because they're easier to subtract. So I'm going to use 3, 0, and 6, 1. Because they're positive numbers. But I could have picked any two. I got my x1, y1, x2, y2. x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, and let's do our slope. y2 minus y1, what do I write on the top? y2 minus y1, what numbers are that? y2 is minus y1, which is 0. So I'm going to do 1 minus 0 on the top. See why we picked those nice points? How easy is 1 minus 0? Easy peasy. On the bottom, x2 minus x1. 6 minus 3. Now we simplify. What's 1 minus 0? 1. 6 minus 3 is 3. So my slope is 1/3. Great. I have my m. But I still can't write my line because I still need the b. And here's where Desmos actually does a lot for us. We're going to do it by hand, but this is where Desmos skips a lot of this part. So to find b, I got to solve an equation. I know right now y equals mx plus b. Except what do I already know in this equation? I already know the m. I also know what x and y are, don't I? This is a table filled with x's and y's. So let's pick a number from here. What number do you want to choose? Which point? Which one looks easiest to plug into something? Which of the 4 points do you think we're going to plug in? That's easiest. You could do any 4, but what one's easiest? The one, I would say 0, -1, or 3, 0. Both of those are easy. They have a 0. Okay, let's plug in 0, -1. So 0 is going to plug in for which of these variables? This is my x, so it's going to go in for x. -1 is my y, so that's going to go in instead of y. I know m is 1/3, so I'm going to plug 1/3 into m. What's the only thing we can't plug something into right now? B. But if we plug everything in except b, then we can figure out what b is. So ready? I'm plugging in 0 for y. 0. I'm plugging in 1/3 for m. I'm going to plug in, what was my x? 0. So I'm plugging times 0 plus b. And now I just need to solve this. Oh, my fault. Y is not 0. What is y? Look at me. Rookie mistake. -1. How dare I? Now we just got to simplify this little baby equation. Okay. What is 1/3 times 0? It's nothing. This is gone. What's the only thing left on this side? B. What's the only thing left on the left side? So what does b equal? B is -1. Now we know both things. We know m is 1/3, and we know b is... So guess what we get to do now? Write the equation. So write your equation. Y equals mx plus b. Plug in your m, plug in your b. Okay. She is not now. She was good, but she hasn't been here this week. But my equation would be y equals, what's next?
Y equals 1/3
1/3 x
plus -1.
plus -1, or just -1. Both are good. Done. That's old school. That's old school. That's how I did it. I didn't have no Desmos. Okay? Let me show you the fast way. The Desmos way. To do this with Desmos, we just have to plug in our table, plug in our cheat code. That's it. That's it. Let's add in our table. Add table. Now, do I need to put in all of the table? No. How many points do you need for a line? You only have to plug in 2. If you want to play it safe and put all of them in, go for it. But I'm just going to put in the first 2. Any 2 would work, though. -2, 7. -1, 5. I see my 2 points, and now Desmos is going to find the line that goes through them. y1, squiggly, mx1 plus b. And just like that, What does Desmos tell me? We know that M is, and we know that B is 3. It told us M, it told us B. Do we need anything else? That's it. M is -2, B is 3. M is -2. What was B? I already forgot. -3? Oh, just 3. M is -2, B is 3. Got M, got B, plug it in. Y equals -2x. It's a positive 3, so I'm going to write plus 3. Done. That's the Desmos way. For me personally, I know which one I would do. I would plug my table into Desmos, put in my cheat code, and be done. But if you want to be old school, you can find your slope by hand, plug in a point in your slope, and solve for B to get your M and your B. Both work. Both are fine. Desmos does save you lots of time on it. Okay. That's where we finished for today. You can now do all of page 2 in your practice packet. All of page 2. All of page 2 is identifying the slope and the y-intercept, graphing, writing the equation, you name it. Everything we just did. You also are able to do 4.2 in Delta Math. You're able to do all of them except for the last one, which is called vertical and horizontal lines, which we do tomorrow. Okay? You have 3 minutes. Sorry to talk your ears off for the day. Tomorrow we'll take like 10-minute notes, and then you'll have all practice to work on all day to work on Delta Math and practice. And we're done.